Good afternoon, everybody. This is Gary Tucker, and this is Tuck Talk number 26. Sex, drugs, and my rockin' soul. A lot of people have been inquiring as to my well-being after my most recent brush with the Grim Reaper, and I'll do my best to answer that big question comprehensively today throughout this video. First, I'm going to address my least favorite and most difficult topic of conversation, and that's money and finances. And in that respect, I'm going down with the ship. I'm not a man of means. I don't have a credit card. I don't have a line of credit. I don't have any money in the bank. And I'm missing a lot of work these past 6 months, so I'm suffering. So that's leading me to throw something out there, which I've never done before. If you find that you're receiving value from the things that I write and offer to the world for free, or if you're receiving value from the Tuck Talk video series, this would be the perfect time to consider making a contribution to my YouTube channel, if you want, to help keep me going, to help me keep my head above water, to help me survive in that manner. It's easy enough to do with an Interact e-transfer. If you feel so inclined and you're capable of it and you want to do it, hey, send a contribution to weldersforhire@gmail.com and I'll give you a big thumbs up on that. Okay? It's a really difficult thing for me to ask for anything, really. I suppose that stems back to childhood experiences, whereas you've heard in previous videos, I was raised in a family where I had a father who loved me and was proud of me, but he was a radically dysfunctional individual, an alcoholic. He abused us sexually and physically as a family, and my God, he used to have this phrase he'd throw in our faces on a continuous basis that went something like, "I'm the one that puts the bread and butter on this table, God damn it, and you're gonna do exactly what I say when I say it." And what this did was create a belief system in me that I was unworthy of the base essentials of life, whether that was food or shelter, a roof over my head, because he was the one that put the bread and the butter on the table. We had to bow down and be subservient to his every wish and whim. He needed to be the king. And even though we were 4, 5, 6 years old, we weren't the ones putting the bread and butter on the table, so therefore we were to feel guilty about that. And that created an early platform of shame, I guess. So my only point there is, it doesn't come naturally to me to ask for anything, to ask for help, even when I need it. But it's out there. So, when bad things happen to us as people, when we're traumatized in one way or the other, we've only got two real choices. We can accept the role of victim and let those things destroy us, or we can find a way to transform those experiences into knowledge and wisdom. In retrospect, looking back over my whole life, I've always tried to do the latter. In the last 6 months, oh my God, there's been some bad things. I got hit by a hit-and-run driver on October the 1st, got serious whiplash. Was just getting over that, and I got hit by a truck and went right back to the drawing board with the whiplash. That was on December the 4th. Last week, I entered into the hospital knowing that I had an arterial blockage of some type, and that it was a serious matter for me because I had 7 previous stents and 5 serious heart attacks, and was told that they probably couldn't do anything if I had another problem. Well, I was the recipient of a medical miracle, and they were able to clear the blockage and put in yet an 8th stent, and I lived through the ordeal. How am I doing? Whew. Wow, what a roller coaster it's been. I need to speak about this in terms of the various dimensions of myself. I have a physical body. Here's my hand. It's my body. What makes my body move is my energy body. The instruction to make my hand move hand, that's my mental body. Being able to acknowledge that my hand is moving, that's my knowledge body. Any type of an emotional reaction that I have, any type of a feeling that I have with regards to my hand moving, that's my emotional body. And behind all of these bodies, permeating all of them, and sitting behind them, observing them, is my essence, which I call consciousness. And I always choose to identify myself with consciousness. That's the full meal deal there. That's the package deal of who and what I am, the different dimensions of myself. So last week, sitting in the hospital, waiting and waiting and waiting, I kept getting bumped off the list to get my surgery. So I was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday before I finally made it to the operating room in the early evening. I noticed that I was just on an emotional roller coaster, and that I was experiencing various forms of fear. And I began to look at myself and examine what's going on here. With all the things that I talk about and write about and that I espouse in terms of identifying myself with consciousness, why am I experiencing these various forms of fear? And I realized that it was my body, my physical body, that was afraid. The body concerns itself with survival, first and foremost. The body has an intelligence of its own, and it wants to live, and it wants to survive. It's interested in sex and procreation for the propagation of the species, and consequently its own survival in that manner. And it wants to live, and it'll do anything it can to live. So my body was afraid. Once I realized that, I was able to accept that, give my body a little self-hug and accept the fact that it was scared. And I was okay with that. It was terrifying during the operation because they were struggling and weren't sure what to do at times, and what's typically a 30-minute operation turned into a 3-hour operation because of all the struggles that they had and the complexity of the operation, getting through, past, in and around all the other stents, and finally being able to place an 8th stent on my LAD artery. Wow, I was conscious through all of that, and it was pretty mind-boggling to endure. But I made it through it. Here we are, and I'll answer the question, how am I doing today physically? I feel really, really good. They did a fantastic job, and thank you to the medical staff at Royal Jubilee Hospital and the cardiac unit for taking care of me. You did a magnificent job. I'm impressed. You guys are great. Emotionally, wow. There was every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And after a couple of weeks of having to deal with this serious issue, I find myself real happy to abandon the whole conversation. I'm really sick of thinking and talking and dealing with my heart issues. Believe me, I don't want to dwell on them, but I really had no choice. So there was a rebound effect where I just let loose and went the whole other way with it and got a little silly. And now I find myself in a state of equilibrium, balancing out again, a state of homeostasis. And I'm okay. I'm okay emotionally. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm told I will be able to return to work in the not too distant future, and I'm feeling a sense of relief with regards to that. You know, I mentally, intellectually, I've had to look at the new lease on life that I've been given, which is another 10 years of good, high-quality health granted to me because of this procedure if I take care of myself. And I've had myself having to use my powers of discrimination in terms of what do I want to do with that 10 years. We'll put that question on pause right now. And let's go back to consciousness. It's my favorite topic. You've all probably figured that one out by now. That's what I am. That's what I identify with. I'm consciousness. So what the heck does that mean? And how does that relate to day-to-day living and the things that I do? Well, it's kind of like this. Everything is consciousness, okay? But there's different levels of it. There's different degrees of it. There's different qualities to it. And let's look at water, H2O. In its solid form, we know it is ice, and it's a coarse, hard, solid material. When you add some heat to it, it melts and turns into water and liquid. And then if you take that water and put it in a pot on the stove and boil it, it turns into steam and becomes a gas. So it is with ourselves as consciousness. The physical body is the coarsest form of that energy of consciousness. And the mental and emotional bodies are more akin to the liquid form of water, okay? They're less coarse. And then of course, yeah. Then we have the steam, the evaporation of water into gas. And that is perhaps most closely correlated with consciousness itself, the finest form of energy that we are. I have managed to learn to travel through these different layers of consciousness over the years in my efforts to study myself and examine the question about what and who I am and what it's all about. And what I've discovered is that consciousness as energy can be stored universally as knowledge and information in an energy form. And that not only relates to all of the different things I've done throughout my life, every thought that I've had is stored out there in the universe as energy, but it also relates to every other person on the planet, the entire history of the planet and every living thing on it. It relates to the history of the cosmos, all of the births of suns and supernovas and everything that goes with that. It's all still out there, stored as energy. It works a lot like our memory does. Our memories are all stored as energy, and they can be accessed through our consciousness. In my earlier years, I first stumbled upon this ability to travel through these various dimensions of consciousness through the use of psychedelic drugs like LSD and magic mushrooms. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many thousands of voyages I took under the influence of those particular drugs. And then there came a time in my life when I went on a 3-month experimental period as a psychonaut using ketamine. And ketamine was really radical because as an anesthetic, it completely separates consciousness from the body. And the voyages that you take under the influence of that drug when you do enough of it. They call it hitting the K-hole. Are out-of-body experiences where you travel throughout the cosmos as consciousness. And when you come into contact with these energy bodies of memory, you have access to them. I've accessed a lot of different things. And this is one of the ways that I've been managed to take the trauma and the negative experiences of my life and use them as a transformative process to acquire, assemble, or gather knowledge and wisdom. Anytime you reach outside the physical, anytime you start getting past the materialistic and the concerns of the physical body, you start entering into the realm of the spiritual, for lack of a better word. The pure abode of consciousness itself. And if you were to inquire about my well-being in that area, I'd say I'm fantastic, I'm fine. It's a fairly constant thing once you're there. And as such a creature, as a spiritual being in a physical body, I'm filled with gratitude that I get to spend another 10 years on this planet with any luck. And I'm determined to satisfy my desire to give back some of this knowledge and some of this wisdom. My particular skill set in which I'm able to even consider such a thing is through the spoken word, like I'm doing with you right now, and through my writing, which is my favorite means of communication. I'm best able to capture the knowledge and wisdom that I've gathered and funnel it through my emotions and through my writing back to you people. And the reason that I want to do that is because I think that our planet's in trouble right now, and our world's in trouble. And the solution to the healing that needs to take place if we're going to salvage this precious, precious world of ours is to raise the consciousness of each and every individual on this planet as much as humanly possible. And I think that in some areas I might have a head start and be able to offer knowledge and wisdom that might provide shortcuts for other people to arrive at places where they too can be a benefit to the healing process of this planet. So that's what I'm all about. I really have very minimal interest in money or material accumulation of any kind. I have to. I'm obligated to my body and myself to eat and pay the rent and clothe myself and things like that. But my newly repaired heart, it goes forth from the place where I've visited so many times on my psychonaut journeys, where I've come to a complete and total understanding that we're all in this thing called life together, and that everything is connected and everyone is connected. And what connects us, the bonding ingredient, is love itself. Once we strip away all the various layers that take up most of our time and energy, what's left is love. And love is the container that holds the knowledge and wisdom that I'm trying to give back to the world for the last 10 years that I have remaining. It's my sole purpose that has any significant value to it in my own head, and that's where I'm going to focus my energies. I'm excited about being able to do that. So in summation, to answer the question, how am I? I'm great. I'm feeling positive going forward. I'm going to focus on the various dimensions of myself, whether that be physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, and try to do the right things as frequently as possible. and offer what left I have to give to each and every one of you. We'll call that a wrap. So until next time, thanks for listening. Bye for now.